So, hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Tennessee. So, Tennessee, welcome.
Hi, Kendrick.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And would you please let everyone know what your full type is?
So my full type is ENTP jumper, NEFE double feminine, play, consume, blast, sleep last, and social type undetermined.
Gotcha. So, I guess you got typed before like socials became a thing.
I did, yeah. I originally got typed actually as Savior TI, but then a year later, when Dave and Shan were offering to retype people, I kind of contacted them, I don't know exactly what prompted it, but it triggered something maybe in my sleep that was like, you're not Savior TI, mate. Like, and I just sort of sent them a little video and was like kind of explaining my reasons for why. And then they looked at my old video and were like, oh yeah, we were wrong. We were seeing a lot of both, but you're probably right. It is probably FE, Savior. So
Oh, so it's still ENTP, but before it was like consume, play, blast, sleep, right? Instead of
yes, it was consume, play, blast, sleep, as opposed to I think Shan at the time said she was seeing a lot of NT in my video, but also a lot of FE, and she couldn't really. She was having a very because it's in the middle, like, and I'm very double decider. Like, she was having a hard time kind of narrowing it down to which one. So she picked TI, and then yeah, later on turns out no, okay, actually FE, but
you know what's interesting is I'm seeing a pattern for people that I'm interviewing that got their type change is that the people who got typed like a while long time ago who did get their type changed, even if it's slightly different.
yeah,
It seems like it was because Dave and Shan were seeing the double masculine of your animals and also those other individuals' animals, and they locked into that. Because like even
yes,
the person I interviewed before you, he got typed complete. He was an ENFP, became an ISFP, and um,
oh,
he was like double activated play when in fact his play was just double masculine. That's why it was like so strong.
ah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. The
And
masculine shine through. Yes.
exactly. Another woman I interviewed before, ISTJ. When I interviewed her at first, she was blast, play, consume, sleep, sleep
Mhm.
last, ISTJ. Turns out she was play last, just double masculine on the play. So
Right.
it sounds like it's the same for you, where like your consume is double masculine. That's why they like moved
Yes.
that, when in fact it wasn't quite.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, like there's a lot of similarities like between the type. Like I've come to realize as one, like there's that infamous ENTP Facebook group chat that I got into originally because I was typed that way. And there was a lot of similarities between us. And I have also in my own life since started recognizing people who are ENTPs, either jumpers or not, and seeing there is large crossover in our personalities and our behaviors. It's just, yeah, the masculines can do a lot uh, to bias people. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is, I
Right.
guess. So yeah,
I personally think there's a huge difference between the jumper ENTP and the standard one, based on
sure, okay.
my interviews. But I want to ask you now, um,
Yeah.
how do you personally experience your first animal, that NF double activated NF play?
It's a bitch. It's just like ADHD on steroids is how I would describe it, with the masculine Annie in particular. Uh, I imagine it like because how do I describe that? I've got the like when I've watched the videos of Shan describing the intense visual world, I can relate to that. But it's not one because I'm not visual, it's not quite as intense. And also because it's not NI, it's just channel changing visuals all the time. So I'm kind of like constantly visualizing lots of different future possible scenarios inside my mind, and they channel change every few minutes, essentially, and it can be various things. It can be social situations, it can be puzzling something out, it can be yeah, I'm just constantly doing that. I guess in the play form, like I see both the consume form of it and the play form. The play would be like me kind of simulating out uh emotionally challenging situations. Because the masculine any I've come to learn is like I want to see the worst possibility possible and to prepare for that. Like, so it's a lot of like kind of let me imagine, I don't know, that someone gets run over on the side of the road, some random person that I saw on the street, and what I would do if I were to go up and try and help them, and if they were angry that they would that I was trying to help, like it'll just go into crazy shit like that. And I'll just be walking down the street and visualizing this as I'm doing living my life, like
Right.
like that, I guess. So
Oh, that's really interesting. Um,
yeah,
um, I want to ask you about your socials actually, because now that like you're talking and stuff, um,
yeah.
I want to make a guess, but then you tell me what you think you are, okay? What you think you are. So,
Oh, this is I one, you're hitting on my TI. Like share what you think. I'm like, fuck off. I don't want to share what I think. But also this is tricky because I have a strong suspicion of what my socials are, but I also uh I left the class around a time when the socials were just starting to be talked about.
yeah,
And at the time, I thought I was one thing, but the people I knew in OP were seeing me as another kind of social.
okay.
And I was, but it was sort of hard. I've done a lot of reflection outside of OP and through various things since then to sort of, which has sort of locked me more onto my original guess. But
Okay.
I might be very biased, but I think that I am at the very least a generalist, if not that, probably a number one. But
Really?
I don't, yeah, I don't know. That's that. Those are my suspicions. And why I think people didn't see that is because my play is so fucking intense
Yeah.
that I come across really friendly. But I'm willing to be completely wrong about this because I was not being seen as that at the time. So I have no, yeah.
The only thing I can say is I can feel flex from you. So I don't see you being
Thanks. Thank you.
I
Thank you. I tried to explain this to them anyway,
no
but
no no
they
dude,
didn't.
100%. Like it was like the flex is so in your face. Uh like it's even if you're friendly, even if you're friendly as hell,
Yeah,
double active play, the flex you can't hide it. Like I feel like the NF vibe that you're giving off is flex. It is flex that
yeah.
so
This is. Can I just interrupt you for a second?
go for it.
I tried to explain this to the ENTP group chat for ages, but one, I was kind of mentally a little, some screws were loose at the time, so I don't think they believed it because of that reason. And also, I was like, you're just DI projecting onto me that I'm FE, so I must be friends. And I'm like, no, you don't actually, you haven't met me in real life. You don't know what my real social type tidal waves are. Like, so anyway, that was validating. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, like even when I was reading your email, I was like, I think this person has demon friends. That's the vibe I was giving. Yeah,
Why?
that's I don't know, like because I get a lot of emails from people, right? So I get like a gauge sometimes. And when
Yeah.
I was reading, and yes, your email is friendly, but the keyword is it's friendly. It doesn't mean it's save your friends. So uh
Yes.
so
Polite.
you're a friendly person, but it doesn't mean you want to like,
Yes.
that friends is your not is your go-to thing. It's definitely a demon from what I can your NF vibe is 100% like it's demon friends.
Yeah.
Now with that being said, I don't know if you're a one or three. I
Yeah,
don't.
that's I'm open in that department. I have reasons why I think one as opposed to three, but I could see either way. I could see either way whether it's one or three. Um
What would you say from your own personal standpoint is like the argument that you would have for one versus argument for three, like in your own
the
personal life?
The argument for one is that I have the constantly changing life paths problem, and that is partially, I am an EP double acted at OE, so that's going to come through anyway. But particularly in this sort of like, I've had the number one drive from a young age of like, I have to make some kind of mark on the world, but it was never tied to any specific profession. It started off as like, I grew up in a family of performers, so it's like, oh, I'm going to be a performer for a living. Then it moved on to my second animal, consume. Oh, I'm going to be a mathematician. That was and then I went to study very hard at the end of school, got into university, was started doing that, but then changed, went into the workforce to try and grow, and then went back to performing. And there's been a lot of back forth, back forth. I've done a lot of different things. So that's my argument for the generalist. But the argument for specialized that I could see is that I have, I guess, I don't have a lot of what I see being talked about in the OP videos and also people in the community, that the number ones and twos are these business oriented types, like the entrepreneurial kind of have that kind of scam that they're always trying to sell you something like that kind of, they're always doing something in order to raise themselves up in that way. And actually, funnily enough, I have a bit of a problem when it comes to playing that game, the kind of like, I'm going to sell myself, I'm going to um, sell you something that seems like a complete scam, even though I have no experience in this field, and I'm going to kind of just get you to give me money, like kind of get like that kind of game that I see the ones and twos playing, I seem to have a hard time doing. So that's my only reason why I'm like, you might be a three because you're not doing that. But I still lean towards one because you've been in too many different arenas for you not to be a one. You might just be it might just be your demon SF and ST and demon DI that's kind of preventing you from being going as much into that area, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No, those are
so
both very good arguments. So it's kind of hard to say like one
yeah,
or three for sure.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, because if you were a three, then your biggest problem would be the broad generalist. So it would be like in a sense like from what I've seen with a lot of threes is like they're really good at one thing, but like a lot of other parts of their life are falling apart unless they are the smart threes who outsource it. So like a lot of threes that I know who are like doing quite well, uh they'll hire like a personal trainer, they'll hire like
Mhm.
so they'll have like coaches or whatever for like the other parts so that they'll use a tribe essentially to upgrade them in other areas so that it's not falling apart, right? So that they can
This is
focus on their
interesting.
yeah.
This is interesting because I can see that potentially I am doing that, but also I can see the other side. I don't, if let's say we're going with I'm a three, I can see, for example, I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but the past 2 years since I left OP, I've been in recovery for addiction, not alcohol or drugs, and a large part of that was due to a lot of unmanageability that I had in my life, which I was using a particular process or vice in order to avoid. I spent the past 2 years doing a lot of work on myself, trying to uncover what was underneath the addiction, and then building a lot of positive habits, like kind of, starting to take care of your health, your diet, your sleep, your exercise, your finances, and starting to build the life that I want. So I could see that that could be a manifestation of like the three crash. But at the same time, my counter argument against that, because if you want the honest truth, I really do think I'm a one. And part of why is because I think the problem was coming less from that and more from I was so number one, unwilling to let anyone help me
Okay.
that my life just fell to shit, basically. Like I was just so like hell bent on, I'm going on my mission and I'm going to fucking, reach the top of whatever arena I'm pursuing at the time. And I think that I have the answer of how to do that. I think the delusion of like kind of, the positive, well, it wasn't a positive self-delusion. I was quite unhappy, but it was, but the kind of like my way or the highway, I'm, going to be pursuing what I want to pursue and nothing, yeah, no outside help is going to make it in. And that sort of just led me to making a lot of really bad decisions at the time. I don't know what that says to you. It might lean you more towards three, it might lean you more towards one. I have no idea. I'm just
Well, the second part doesn't say anything to me other than you could be a one or three. So, but the first part sounds like a problem from a three. So, if you were like a
Yes.
one, then your problem would be more, I guess, tribe related, because it's
Yeah.
leaving. Like one of the bad things that number ones would do is they use people to as a stepping stone to get ahead, right? And then once they're done with that person, they would move on and they will kind of discard you if you no longer serve that purpose. Right. Well, number threes will not discard you because they're kind of like double deciders. They can balance with the friends coin
Yes.
and also the other coin. So,
This is
but I'm not saying number ones will discard everybody. There's number ones
no,
who,
no, no. I
yeah,
know what you're saying.
but even
I'm
number
trying
ones
to,
with hold on a second. So even number
yeah.
ones with like friends, they put like a big distance. And they'll maybe you'll see them once a year or once every 2 years. So
Yes.
but number threes also do that too though. So it's kind of
Yes.
tricky. So it's a little bit tricky. But number threes, they have like it's number threes, they're more balanced with it. It's not as weird as like the number ones do it,
Not as weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, do you have a life pile of doing that, like to support that? Like the SI
Let
life
me
pile.
let me have I'm looking into my sleep. Let me have a look into my
Sleep
sleep.
last. Yeah, of course, sleep last.
Yeah, let me see. I'm like, and it's also because like I don't know, it's another conversation, but my sleep is largely visual. Like I have to go back into the visual catalog. So I'm like
Of course.
going into my memories right
Take
now.
your time. Take your time.
Um, I can see instances of both, like an anecdote for, I'll say just demon friends, whether it's three or one is another question that
Yeah.
I remember from childhood. Is there was this in school, there was this girl who was a new kid in school, and I was one of the, really unpopular kids in school, was not, like loser, one of the losers. And like we were but this was a new person and she didn't, have anyone, and so she made friends with my group of people, and which was like three of us or whatever. And then once she had to leave and move back to where she was going to be living. And she was like, "Oh, do you want to keep in contact? Do you want to exchange stuff?" And I was like, "No, we're going to be really far away. I think we're just going to leave it. That's it." And I just said that like really off the cuff. I was like 8. Like, and I could see the FE, because I can watch the FE. I like saw her break inside as I said that, and I
Oh
didn't get
God.
it at the time. I was like, why is she upset? Like partially because of the double deciding as well. Like because I'm like, yeah, whatever, people, who cares? Like I was just like, why are you upset? Like you're moving really far away. Of course, we're not going to stay in contact. I'm a kid. You're a kid. Like like what? And but looking back on it, I remember looking back and being like, that was quite cold. Like
Yeah.
why did I do
That is
that?
vicious. That is vicious.
I didn't mean it. I meant it just very masculine TI, honestly.
Right.
It's
Right. Yeah.
like that's how I would say it. Like there was no like I'm trying to hurt this person in what I was saying. It was just like well, nice knowing you. See you later. Like kind of like that was so that's a demon friends anecdote. The I'm trying to think of other I mean all that's coming up is like me having memories of being a kid and being demon friends and that causing loads of issues. Like because I was supposedly this really like cute, friendly, double feminine play person,
Yeah.
but then when people would get to know me, they'd be like, "You're a cunt," and I'm like, "Sorry, well, really badly.
You
I'm
can
Australian. That's what we do."
you can swear
But
all you want. It's fine.
thank you. All right. I needed try permission, yeah. So yeah, I'm just keep looking back on like all these instances where I was just so rude to people. But I actually here's another demon. I have another demon friends anecdote. This is all that's coming through my
Yeah.
mind. Is there was again a new kid at school who probably was a flexer as well. Like he was not very well liked by anyone. But I kind of saw because I was also not very well liked by anybody. I was like, oh, maybe a new person. Maybe we could form some kind of connection. But then because I was so unused to actually making friends with people, he'd be like messaging me like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And I'd message him back like, "Why the fuck are you talking to me?" I wouldn't say it like that, but I've read back the messages since and been like it's like a robot talking. Like I was talking purely from my masculine TI of just like, "Why are you talking to me?" Why, what do you want? Go, do what you want yourself. Like, I'll see you at school. Like, when, like that. It was really, yeah. Anyway, really assholey behavior. So I can see that. Um, as to whether the demon responsibility or demon specialization, it's harder to see because I can see myself doing a lot of both. Like, if there's a good arena to watch this in my life, actually would be the I did karate for 11 years, and I started off like I was not a very physical kid. I was, tiny, glasses, nerdy, feminine, and like wasn't very good at many sports. My parents kind of got me to do karate, and it was solo sport, and I did a lot better and kind of started building confidence in that area and really specialized in it. Like, I got really, really good at it. But I do remember at the time that I had this, I don't know where this came from, but I had this like, I don't just want to be good at the karate. I want to start teaching and I want to start imparting that knowledge to the other kids. And then there was an opportunity later, like to be, because there weren't that many kids in the style I was doing at the time, transitioning to like the adult program. And so I started training with the adults and had this desire to climb up. Like, I remember this sort of like, I was wanting to climb up, and then I got a lot out of there. Eventually, I started teaching my own classes when I was like in my mid-teens, and then I was teaching beginner adults when I was like 16, and then I was yeah, and I remember like kind of uh I enjoyed the responsibility of being like this sort of kid who's risen their way up in this arena and had like, a very supportive karate master at the time who was like supporting me along doing that, who also had like a sort of, because it's not just you, like there's the team of people that if you're grading to black belt, that you're grading with, that you train with for like 6 months, and you kind of uh not as you kind of as the most senior of that group, I felt this like responsibility that like I have to be a good example. I have to not only be good at what I do, but I have to, if anyone's struggling with anything, I have to help them get better at it. I have to make sure that, that everyone's unified, that we've got, kind of that there's no kind of, because there were people of different skill levels doing it at the time. There were some people that were doing the karate because it was just like a way of them getting active, and they were older or they had injuries or they were, had it was a very broad church training. And then there were the, really hardcore types who were like kind of like these masculine dudes who were like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to do the best at this that I can. And I sort of saw my role at the time as like being this sort of halfway between, because I am playing more of the role that these masculine guys are playing, but I'm a kid. So there's only so I understand what the other people who are, older, who are not necessarily doing it for that reason, are going through, because like when I'm not training fully like an adult, so I can help them. Anyway, I felt a lot of enjoyment out of that responsibility. I don't know if that story was helpful, but I felt like this is an arena where I can see I've really, really specialized, but I also was taking on a lot of responsibility. Like, I can see both. So it's hard, but that's the thing. Number threes, if they're in their specialization, they're not responsibility repulsed.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. Anyway, so I don't know what that tells you, but that's a story
It's
from my
hard. It's hard to say for sure. I mean, like,
yeah.
it's like hearing it sounds like it could be specialist because like it's not like specialists can't teach. I mean, there's a lot of teachers that are
No,
specialists.
no.
So I feel like the answer is on the third social, like it's because like I'll give you an example. I'll explain why. So for the longest time, Dave thought I was a four, and he was actually
Uh-huh.
telling everyone in the community that I was four. I was like, I am not a four, definitely not a four. I have savior friends, but I'm not a four.
Yeah,
I'm definitely a two. So I got to the bottom of it. I sent my documents to him, and he said, "Huh, you are not a four. You are a two." Like he's like, "You have scams and blah blah." And then, but the key answer to what led to me being a two instead of a four was the third social flex, because
flex. You
I told him,
have that.
I'm like, I don't have flex savior, but I'm not missing flex, because I told him, I'm like, I've been to over 100 countries. I don't have problem bragging to people about it, and
Yeah,
that's my area of like flex. I tell people like I travel a lot. Probably have been to more places than you will ever be in your life. Like that's my area of like
yeah,
flex, right?
yeah.
And then he's like, He's like, oh shit. He's like, you have, and he's like, you have chill flex. You do have flex. It's not missing. Like he said, you'll
Yeah.
drop it and then you'll get out. Like not long enough that it becomes cringe. Like you'll say it
Yeah.
so that at least people remember who you are or what like
Yeah.
what you're like because you need flex. Otherwise people forget you, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so you do it enough, just so enough, and then you get out. So I was like, he's like, that's why you're two because you're not missing flex. That there's chill flex happening. So
Yeah.
that's why I think the third socials is like the key because for you if you were a one, your third social would be not missing specialist. But if you were a three, then you were not missing friends. So
Not
it's
missing friends.
yes. So like as a three, you do enough, even if it's just once a year or whatever, that you will like keep in touch with like maybe even just like one person or two. But like you have a genuine, here's a keyword, genuine friendship. Like you see them as a genuine friend. Then you want to keep in touch with them because they're your genuine friend. So that's why I want to
This is
ask you, do you have any genuine friend where like you like you just adore them like I like this person I just want to spend time with it at least once a year just so we can.
um that's really hard to answer. Um, okay, so the only person that is coming to mind as to that
Yeah,
is there is a friend that I have who I see, it's not even once a year, it's more like once every 2 years.
yeah, that's fine.
It's my friend Ella from high school, who we lived like across the road from each other at the end of high school. We got to know each other, and we sort of she's also I have her type pretty solid in my head, but her socials is she's flex of some description, probably a one, like, yeah, that's demon friends as well. So we both, I remember, would be bonding over our issues with the demon friends problem in a lot of, how we would be able to talk about it at the time. And we would just spend a lot of one-on-one time together in that more intimate setting. Kind of, yeah, and we developed this sort of close friendship at the time. And I can see it is a friendship that I have maintained over a long period of time, but I've kind of accepted that, like, well, she's doing her thing over there, I'm doing my thing here, and like we are probably gonna, we may see each other. We'll see each other when we see each other. We're both on our missions, is sort of how I see it. Like, and I'm kind of like, yep, that's just how it is. But aside from her, I'm like genuine, like I'm not using these people without, like, it's not that I don't care. It's more this sort of like, is there anyone else really who I am like that connected to? I'd say no, not really. Family, obviously, like I'm including them there, but like aside from family, like everyone else is kind of in my mind is not at that level of friendship. Everyone else is kind of just another person existing. I don't know
So
what that's.
basically you have a lot of acquaintances but in,
Yes, a
in
lot of
terms of
acquaintance.
in terms of a true friend that's really hard to say like this person could be the closest.
Yeah, she would be the closest to that, and I think that's also it was a byproduct of like it was kind of forced upon us in that we were
Yeah.
in such close proximity, and also she is savior play as well. I think she's a double feminine SEFE. So like there was we're both extroverted enough that it kind of forced us out of our demon friends like that. So,
Oh, so
so
you think she has demon
yeah,
friends also?
oh yeah, whether it's I think she's much more obviously a one to me. Like there's like the ones that's like, oh, you're a fucking one. There's no way. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
way
yeah, like so
you
in your
can even
face, so in your face.
yeah. Yeah. She's definitely a one. But she's very friendly because she's double feminine SEFE play. She's quite a
Right.
friendly one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, like
there's
The Rock.
yeah, I guess. Is he FE? I thought he was an ISTP.
No, he's
But
an ESTP, but he's SETI.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's
So
super
she's
friendly though,
similar.
and he's double feminine.
She's similar to that. Highly ST competent as well at what she does. But yeah, I could kind of see, yeah, she's probably outside of my family, she's the only person that I can see who is like we actually really bonded. Whereas there are mentor figures that I can see I've met through my recovery process who I feel a sort of like respect for, but I wouldn't say we're friends, if that makes any sense. It's sort of like because recovery is strange. Like you're kind of helping each other through this sort of difficult life experience together, and these people have more experience at how to deal with that than I do. And so I'm learning a lot from them, but it's not the same as friendship in my mind. That this is, so it's
Right.
sort of a different kind of relationship. Uh, but I do. Yeah, so anyway, so yeah, that's why I would say she is the probably the only person that I feel that kind of strong connection with.
That's very interesting. Honestly, when I first started talking to you, you give me number three vibes, but then after hearing all this, it's kind of like, it's very questionable for sure, for one and threes. But I think that
It's
one
hard.
last thing I want to ask you about in terms of like
Yeah.
potential cross checks is,
Yes.
um, the biggest thing about the ones and threes is the way they live their life is very different. So
Oh,
so so
yes.
so the biggest one is, um the ones are obsessed at doing whatever it takes to build up their legacy, right? Or their identity. While number threes, their goal is, yes, they want to have a legacy too, like being the best at their niche, right? But they're from what I've seen with number threes, work-life balance is super important to them. And also the other thing with the also thing with the difference between ones and threes, this is a huge difference. Um,
Yes.
it's the future. So this is one of the best cross check that
Yeah.
David Chan published actually. So
Interesting.
I don't know if you've seen this, but they have the different
Yeah.
outlooks. So the number threes,
Yes.
past and future is negative, while for number ones, the past is negative, the future is positive, because in the past they see themselves as a loser. The future is when they can be a winner. So it's like, like,
This is a tricky one. So I hard not to complicate it with my fucking OE brain trying to make everything different. So please ignore
sure.
that. But like, but uh the present is definitely not positive. I can say that. The present is uncomfortable because I'm not at my goal yet.
Yeah.
Um, I can say that now that I've had 2 years of recovery, the future is a lot more positive. Particularly because I have the solid foundation of, okay, you're actually starting to build better habits. You're starting to take responsibility for all areas of your life. You're actually starting to become a better person. You're the goals that you are striving for, you're much more likely to achieve now than you were before. Whereas early recovery was like everything is just dark because the present sucks. Future's not possible because I'm fucked. So like everything is just bad. Like that was how it was. Whereas now I'd say future is probably leaning more positive, but I still have a lack of trust. There is a little bit of like, oh, am I really going to be able to do it? I'm really going to be able to do it. But like, I have more hope now than I did before. The past, I'd say, yeah, well, this is tricky because we're getting into like, life experiences versus your perception of life experiences here. I'd
Right.
say, yeah, so like there are some legitimate reasons I could look back at my past and be like, yeah, you went through some really difficult things, and I'm glad I'm not there now. But at the same time, I also kind of have been able to start recognizing through recovery again that yeah, actually it was a bit more positive than I was perceiving previously. And I was just unable to see it that way at the when I was younger. Um, but yeah, I would say now on the work-life balance thing. This is where like I don't really care. Like I just sort of like that. I do. Hang on, I'll try and resolve it through my play because I can see what the tribe is doing. So, for example, my boss at the moment, I think I've got his type fully. Like, let's just play for example. So, I think he is an NETI audio consume play blast number 4. That's what I think he is. So he has specialized as savior. And I see in him the specialist routine that he has in his life. He has the like, I go and I he's doing a lot of number one like things and the amount of pressure he's putting on himself as he's gotten older. But this is also because he's been in addiction recovery for 30 years. So like, he's balanced out a lot of his life. But he's, like, right, when I wake up, I get up at 5 a.m. and I go to the beach and I ocean swim like 4 to 6 kilometers every morning. Then I go to work and I work as an electrical engineer and I do all these different tasks at my job and I do that all day. Then at night I go home and I make my dinner and I work on anything else and I do my things and then I sleep and I repeat the process again every day. He does that literally every day. I've watched him over a year do this. Like I'm kind of like, yeah, you're constantly living the specialist lifestyle. Whereas for myself, I don't see myself doing that. Now that could just be OE, like, but I kind of I'm constantly updating my routine. Like kind of recently, for example, I've started as an effort to exercise more and to try and work on my friend's problem. I've tried to like join him while doing the ocean swimming thing. So where now I started a couple months ago and like was like, right, I'm gonna do it every day. Then was like, actually, no, I'm not gonna do it every day. I'm gonna rest a bit and then I'm gonna work on this other thing and I'm gonna reteach myself this subject that I learned in school, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and then oh no, now I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it every day for a month, and then we're gonna build up like that. And I'm constantly like kind of I don't know whether I'm just describing my 512 type here, but I'm constantly just like updating this sort of daily routine of work-life balance. There's no kind of constancy to it that I could see at any point in my life, really. Like I've always had like there's always a new project, a new thing, yeah. Does that help you?
I
I
think the
don't know.
problem with getting to the bottom of it is because you're like a super EP, right? So
Yes.
it throws a lot of things out of the window because it's kind of hard
Yes.
to narrow down. The only thing I can
Yes.
say though is
Yes.
well, I have another potential cross check, but like
Okay.
but the only thing I can say is your perception of your self and social type appears to be one, but
Yeah.
your tidal wave is concretely a three. So that's where the contradiction. And I'm not like a lot of
See
ones
that.
also get into addiction too, right? So it's not like oh only threes can get to addiction. So it's
Oh,
not like black
yeah,
and white.
100%. Like I've since being in recovery, I'm like the majority of people there are ones. If
Yeah,
you want my honest opinion, like it's largely like uh my opinion is uh like there's every social type, but there's a high concentration of ones, at least the ones that I meet around. And I would say why that is seems to be they haven't reached the top. So burned down. Like that's sort of what seems to be the problem. And they can't, yeah, they don't have the ability to use friends to be able to kind of like balance themselves back out. So they just crash. Like that's sort of what I've seen a lot of. Um, but I get what you're saying. Like it could be a three crash as well of like you're so hyper specialized, you're not doing enough in that one area. But I could actually maybe I could describe a bit more like at the end before that rock bottom happened, like what was going on, like whether it looks like a three crash or a one crash. So like what was going on at the time was I was working full time as a manager at this cafe I was working at that I worked at for a few years. And then I was also studying music at a conservatorium. And then I was um, what else was I doing? Oh yeah, I was spending a lot of time. I'd gotten my identity had attached to this particular person that I saw as like a project to try and help them better their life. And this was so I was investing a lot of time in kind of talking to this particular person, trying to support them, trying to help them, trying to improve their life. But in a way, I look back now and it actually wasn't really anything to do with them. It was much more to do with my own desire to be their hero. And so I was doing those three things while also had an addiction that was wreaking havoc everywhere in my life constantly, and I didn't realize it. And I was trying to manage all these different things. And then because there was just so many different things I was trying to manage at the time, it all just fell apart on me. And I had to spend 2 years where I like, right, okay, you got to stop uni. Like you've your capacity to do that right now has diminished. You've got to like pare everything down, strip everything back. Like you've done too much at once. You've got to uh, have some distance from this person in order to kind of like get your own stuff sorted out. And you've got to like spend a lot of time just diving into how do you actually kind of recover. And then slowly over time, I've started rebuilding and kind of adding things back in again. But it was a big crash of like, I was trying to do all these different things and then I just couldn't manage it all. And then it just went
That
implode.
that sounds like a sleep last crash. It doesn't sound like a
That
social.
that too.
That sounds like,
That
yeah,
too.
yeah. I think that's from your animals from the sound of it. But let me provide a quick cross check. I just thought about it that I thought was really good. So this is a cross check like that actual like real a real number one said, and this other one is what a real number three have said. Okay, so
Okay.
so the first one is from the singer Post Malone. So
Okay.
they did an interview with him, and he said ego is very important for when he's on stage because he said when he's on stage and you don't have an ego, you don't stand out and you're actually going to be a shitty entertainer as a result because like you need to be like be able to stand in front of the audience and be like who's ready to be entertained, like you need to have like that
Yes.
brash confidence in yourself when you're like entertaining.
Yes.
But he said that outside of performance he leaves the ego in the auditorium or the arena, doesn't take it with him outside because he's bounced with friends, right? So when he said when he's with his friends, he doesn't have any ego because he said it's worthless there. It doesn't help him. So and he also used the word friends. So he has friends that he hangs out with. So that's the first cross check. Second one
Okay.
is this is a real number one, but this person's an INTP though. This is someone I interviewed in the past, and
Oh, I
he
think it's the curly brown hair. I think I've watched that one. If it's is this or is this a longer time ago?
maybe you've
Sorry.
seen it. I don't remember he has curly brown hair, but anyways, um,
Yeah.
he kind of resembles you though, kind of
Oh,
ish but like so he said something in a Facebook groups which I thought was like really really like I thought it was like the most honest thing a number one could ever say. It was so good, like
uh-huh.
really well said. He said when he enters a room, the first thing he does is he looks around and he compares with himself with every single person in the room, and he goes like he said, this person, oh, this person, he's fit, he's well dressed, but I don't think he's growth mindset. I don't think he's using his last animal. And then he goes like, this person, oh, they're clearly smart, but their SF is all off. They don't know SF.
Oh,
This person's cringe, like. And then
oh,
but he said the moment he sees someone that has the SF covered, they're using the last animal. They're clearly well dressed. They're confident. He said he gets really threatened. His ego goes way down. He feels like trash. He said his self-esteem goes to shit. And then, but
let
then
me
he also,
hide. Let me hide.
yeah. But he said he also
Yeah.
gets a lot of admiration for that person, even though he feels like trash. Like
Yes.
after he processes that like
That,
self-loathing that he experiences, he said that admiration is what comes out on the other end for like that other person.
that,
So
that.
it sounds like you're a one then based on this story.
Oh my God, that. Sorry, the FE's been triggered now. Uh, that the compare. How did we not talk about the comparison game? Because everyone likes to think that's just a thing DEs do, but no, it's the
And INTP did this. And INTP
yeah,
did
an
this.
INTP. This is like okay, so back to the swim that I do, like constantly at the swim. I'm 5'6". I'm really skinny. There's no way I'm ever going to be a super fast swimmer. Yet, whenever I'm in the water, my brain is going, how do I beat everyone in the fucking water? How do I fucking, okay, what are they doing? How do I get better? How do I improve? And then when I see the guys who are like, these 6'4" swimmers, jacked, kind of like, can like,
Michael Phelps like
swim.
level.
Yeah, Mike
INTP.
Phelps, I feel this like insecurity, this deep insecurity of like, fuck, I'm not good enough. Partially demon DI too. Like the fuck, I'm not good enough. I'm never gonna be that. I'm never going to be able to be that. But how do I be able to try and achieve what they can achieve even though I don't have that? Like that kind of mentality is constantly running through my mind at the swim I do. And I don't tell anyone about it because I
Yeah.
don't want them to think I'm comparing myself to everybody there. That
It's like
is
a
exactly
secret thing that you're thinking about. Well, I mean, I'm glad that the other guy shared it. It's like I think a lot of numbers are actually thinking that, but like he's the one openly enough to share it. So it was
it's
like,
true.
yeah.
Oh, it's all the time. every time I walk down the street. Like it's literally, and it's so like now I can see it's a program. It's not me. It's
Yeah,
just a thing that runs through my mind of like this. Yeah, you're constantly looking at everybody and sussing where everyone is on this sort of like the social hierarchy and how you fit. And if this was actually a lot of I'm really opening up here, but yeah, in the recovery stuff I had to do, I had to go through a process where I wrote out every single resentment I had towards any person in my life. And there were like, it was getting to the point where there was like hundreds of them. It was actually a really good thing to do. I'd recommend it for anyone to do if you're struggling with anything in your life. But
yeah.
and the constant thing that started kept coming up, like because the all the resentments I started seeing, like EP, like it's all different, but then oh no, it's actually all the same. Like, oh wow, that's a surprise. But like what I started seeing was like they're all about this person is smarter, looks better, is taller, is, more talented, more skilled at whatever the fuck. It was all the comparison game. Like every single one of them was like just that. There was nothing else. I had no
Jealousy.
other. What? Sorry.
Purely jealousy.
Yeah. Well, it partially it not. There might have been admiration in there too, but like to get the honesty of the
The negative
resentment.
emotion. The negative
Yeah,
emotion.
the negative emotion. The negative emotion was this. It's jealousy, but it's also inadequacy. It's not necessarily because it's not ultimately about them. It's about the constant feeling that I'm never enough. That that I'm not going to. Yeah, am I trying to double decide my way through this?
No, no. I mean, it's. I mean, you're still a double decider, even if you have all this,
Yeah.
right? So you're not gonna be like,
Uh,
you're not a decider that's gonna be like stuck in this rabbit hole. You'll find a solution eventually, because you're a double
yes.
decider. But no, but
Yeah.
your story reminds me of a story like this ENFP girl that I interviewed
Yes.
who was the number one, and she said the same, it's like similar thing where she's into like powerlifting competition, and she said like
I
she
watched this.
yeah, remember
Yeah,
that one? Like she can't work
I
out with
do.
another girl because like
Oh.
she doesn't want them to be skinnier or better looking than her, right? So it's like, you know,
Oh.
um, so that's so interesting, dude. That's so interesting.
It's so It's so just to particularly because like this is what I've started and part of why I was so like I really do think I'm a one because I'd forgotten about this
yeah,
until you brought it
I
up.
think
But
you're I
like
think you're one.
yeah, based because of that game is that over the past 2 years of recovery and also sort of I kind of drifted away from OP for a while, but I've started watching more stuff again,
Yeah.
kind of realizing the ridiculousness of being a number one. It's just like why would like evolution get someone to function like that. Like like it's
Well,
just so
what
ridiculous.
if you guys will get it right? Not all of you, so
But
the rest will just be self-loathing. But like there's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's just so bad because it's literally like when you actually think about it logically, it's like the reality is we all have different strengths, we all have different weaknesses. We're all
exactly.
trying our best, like let's try and help each other live a better life and actually, try and, let's do that. But like when you've got this built-in program that is constantly telling you, unless you achieve something great, you're never enough. It's just like I've seen it in these interviews, like watching these other people, like it's like, oh my God, you're like speaking like what I think about all the time. Like, holy fuck, like this is so weird to hear in someone else's voice. And yeah, and it really makes me think about like, well, because ultimately, like what I've been learning in recovery, and fun fact, if you ever learn anything about recovery, you'll learn that a lot of it, I largely think that particularly the recovery I've done was started by a number one, because a lot of the stuff you learn about is about how do you let go of your ego? How do you start building relationships? How do you actually kind of start doing service? It's all the demon friends lessons. But like it's true in the sense of like kind of like, do you want to live a life that is just kind of, you know, purely about like how you get to where you're going and like fuck everything else, or you actually want to build a life that's kind of positive for yourself and the people are in it, like kind of so that's sort of what I'm trying to do now. And what why are you
Nothing.
smiling?
No, I'm just okay. I'm not gonna lie. I think like I have number one friends, and I think they're fucked up. But like,
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
we are.
I think from like from my perspective, they're fucked up because like when you're doing better than them, they're generally unhappy for you. Like they're generally unhappy, and they actually they're not happy to see you like succeed. And
I
I'm like,
try not to be.
I know, but I know it's a programming. I understand it's a
Yeah,
programming,
program.
but and
Program.
obviously it's something that you have to train yourself not to not think about, right?
Yes.
But like for me,
Yes.
it's still kind of like fucked up because I'm like, it's like because like as someone would save your friends. Okay, like for example, like I have
Yeah.
a YouTube channel. It's definitely like the
Yeah.
subscriber count is going up. I'm like really happy with it. I'm like stoked, right? You know. And then I have a buddy who's a number four. He saw my channel growing, and he's motivated because twos and fours
Yeah.
are externally motivated, right? So he's like, dude, I'm really
Yeah.
happy for you, and I want you to succeed, but I want to raise you to 100K subscribers, right? So for me,
Oh,
I'm like,
nice.
yeah,
Positive.
dude. So I'm like, totally, dude. Let's race to 100K subscribers because yeah, but I'm also genuinely happy for him. So it's like
Yeah.
synergistic. We're happy for each other. And then we have this other fucker friend who's like, he's like threatened. And we're like, dude, we can succeed. Like for me, I'm like, we can succeed together. We're not even in the same field. Why are you
I
upset?
know.
You're not even a
Uh,
YouTuber. Who cares? You're like you have a traditional business in accounting. Why are you upset that I'm doing good in this YouTube stuff?
Yeah.
Like
This is I just want to say for all the like to just like to the people in my life and you who are savior friends and get really kind of like what the fuck at this behavior. It's not, it's a program.
it's a
Like when
program.
I
I
step
understand.
away and logically think about it and actually kind of like really, it's like I am actually happy. Like I want you to succeed.
Yeah.
It's just this program won't shut the fuck up. Like that's
Yeah.
literally what it is. Like it's not like the way I would put it is it's not I don't have any ill will towards any
Fair
person.
enough.
It's more just this the flex is just so like I have to have my way that it can take over. That's how I would describe it. It's not so much around um being genuinely like wanting other people to fail. If anything, successful people are actually quite inspiring because it's like, oh wow, like what did they do? How could I learn
Yeah.
from them? How could I actually, like kind of that sort of, but it's hard, like there is the process that I've learned I have to go through of like I have to get past the the flex problem of like fuck someone's doing better than me, that's getting to me, and I have to do that process in my mind before I can get to the like, oh now I'm happy for you. Like it's
It
yeah.
sounds like to me like the number one version of ego, not number three, because like I have number three friends who
Yeah.
are also generally happy for me. So it's like they're not like the ones. But I feel like
Yeah.
number one, they have like I would describe it as like a hot kettle syndrome where like the moments you see someone succeed, it's like touching a hot kettle, like like there's like it's like like you just like like you just like it's like you get burned, you're like you flinch, and then you have to be like upset because like that's kind of like the reaction. That's why you can backward rationalize later on because you're like, oh,
Yes.
um, you know, like it's just my programming, that it's just
It's your
but
programming.
the
And I will
reactions
say
the reaction's never gonna not gonna leave. It's always gonna happen, but it's you know because
this is why when like you would kind of like maybe you're a three, I'm like, you don't know the whole truth.
well, I
Like,
mean that's why I kept prodding because I wanted to see
yeah,
I wanted to
yeah.
have all these different cross checks. So
That's
um,
fair. No, because I really wanted to talk this out and actually figure it out because I was really confused because like I can't the weird thing about social type compared to other parts of people's type is it's one that people seem to be able to see better themselves than the actual OP type. Like I'm sure you've noticed that. Like it's kind
yeah,
of the like everyone seem maybe because it's the conscious program of like this is the kind of life I'm going to live of like whether it's the I'm the community builder, I'm the specialist, I'm the generalist responsible for everything, or I'm heading to the top like leader, whatever. Like it's kind of it's the most conscious of the programs, whereas the type is like the particular robot that happened to kind of uh be have this social tech flat on their forehead. So it's hard to catch what the robot is doing because like when you are the robot because you don't know anything else. So
yeah.
it's yeah, anyway, there was a point to that. What was I saying? We channel change. What was I saying? It was around, oh yeah, it's gone. Fuck. Damn
Well,
it.
maybe I'll come back. Let me ask you about ego. Actually, I'm curious about ego. So
Yes.
so um
Yeah.
so ego is such an interesting thing because it gives you
Yes.
an air of confidence to you, but you can also get knocked down so easily and you're like worse off than the savior friends people. I almost feel like
Yes.
Like the
Very
number
much.
four is like I don't know if you saw that typing video that Dave and Shan did of Gervais, who
I
he
didn't watch it, no.
but you know who he is, right? Like
Yeah, of course. The
so
comedian.
you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
so Ricky Gervais comes across as very confident, like very
Yes, he
very
does.
but he's a number four, so you would be like, what?
Yeah.
He- Like so I think what number fours have is they have their confidence level is stable. It's very,
Yes.
very stable. And
Yes.
same as number two. But like ones and threes, it's extremely unstable. So while like ones and let's say the
Yes.
twos and fours are like right here, and the ones and
Yeah.
threes are like right here. But you can also go way below them. So it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like it's insane because you could like you have extreme highs and lows all the time.
Yes.
So like that's why you would maybe indulge in addiction because like like
Yeah.
you're trying to get your dopamine back, right? When you hit
Wow,
the low,
exactly. Because
right?
the swings are too much. That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
very good understanding of what's going on there. I agree with you in what I've observed, like particularly like on the number fours being just naturally more kind of confident in that it's partially because they're not swinging as much.
yeah,
I see this in my boss, he's a number four and he's super friendly. Like it's weird because he's an audio ENTP. He should be an absolute cunt to anyone and
yeah,
everywhere all the time. But he's the most like at first it took me a long time to see is this actually TI savior because he was so friendly. Like and I could see there was TIFE. So I was like he feels almost FE, but I'm like, I think he is actually TI. Is it was because he's just a friends monster. Like when he's at the swim, for example, he's saying hi to every single person. He knows all these people. He has genuine connections with them. He's friends with the dogs. He's friends with their dogs. Meanwhile, I'm there and I kind of just stand there and I socialize a little bit with him and some of the people he knows, and I'm friendly enough, which is getting me by. But like that's as much as I'm able to do. Whereas to be fair, he's also been there a lot longer. There's that thing too. But what I see with him is like the way I see flex is very similar to masculine DE in that it's like the tribe is a threat. Like that sort of because partially, actually, I think when I was originally typed, before I got retyped and before I had any idea what my OP type was, I thought I was a super, like all extroverts do. I thought I was a super introvert. I thought it was like sleep savior or whatever. But I thought I was double masculine. And why I thought that was because the masculine DE thing of like, they were talking about how masculine DE views the tribe as a threat. And what I've realized now is like, I actually think that's much more to do with flex than to do with masculine DE because if you think about it, like we all perceive everyone else as us. Like, we don't think that people are different to us. It's a bias that every single person has, is that, everyone's the same as us. So I'm assuming that everyone else is a number one, which means everyone else is a fucking threat, basically, because the number ones, unless managed, are cunts and are going to screw you over. So like,
Are you
so
projecting you're projecting yourself then?
yeah, of course. Well,
Yeah,
who doesn't? Like
yeah,
that's kind of,
yeah, fair enough.
like yeah, like who doesn't do that? Like whereas I think the people with Save Your Friends, they're projecting that everyone is friendly because they're friendly. So
Yeah, that's
no one is a threat.
well,
Masculinity, femininity doesn't matter. Like that sort of
well,
pattern I'm seeing.
once
But
once you know OPS, I guess that's not true anymore because you're like, oh, okay, there's actually
yeah,
like a
that's
different type.
true.
And I thought it was funny too when you said, "Oh, he's MF and NET. He must be an asshole." I'm like, oh, I think you're thinking of Ben Shapiro because he's like a social type one who's like the MF guy who attacks.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
that's
he like
right.
attacks everyone. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, Ben Shapiro. That's like he's like the stereotypical asshole ENTP.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like like Jordan Peterson is an ENTP also, right? But like
Yes, and a
he's a
three.
number, but he had three, so he's pretty friendly and he has real friends, right? So he is like,
Yeah, true.
yeah,
But he can do the asshole thing too. He can do a bit of both. He
yeah,
can,
he
yeah,
does the
yeah,
asshole thing a lot, but he's also really friendly. So it's like
yeah,
balance, but it's not like
yeah,
Ben Shapiro who's just like an asshole, right? He's like
yeah,
he's just an asshole. I'm like I've never seen him be friendly in any videos. Like he's just a dick, right?
yeah.
Like
He is.
sometimes I even wonder. I'm like, what's the point of you doing all this? Like, are you just trying to feed your ego? Like, this is the whole purpose to feed your ego that you're like you're right. Like, isn't that a pathetic life to live? It's like proving you're
Yeah.
right. Like,
Really
oh,
sad. Like, yeah, it's
a lot.
really sad. Sorry. Anyway, continue. Sorry, what were you
Another
saying?
thing, like slight off tangent, but not really, because it's something that you said in the past, like about like your swimming life earlier when you're talking about like comparing yourself
Oh
to
yeah.
other swimmers. Because like for me, I was
Yeah.
thinking about what you said, and like it makes perfect sense in a moment. You're a TI robot, and you're not thinking about like about like what reality is, right? Like
Yes.
you're 5'6", and like you're competing in something that like it's literally like based on physical fitness, like physical, it's
Oh yeah.
and genetics. Like you can't
Yes.
even use you can't even use like you can't even outsmart your enemy because there's none. It's just like purely physical. Like it's not like
Yeah.
mixed martial
Yeah.
arts, right? Like like George St. Pierre is an INFJ. Like you have a
Yeah.
lead intuitive in MMA, but he's using his NI to beat his opponent, right? Because he's
Yes.
anti sleep. So
Yes.
in that sense, you can still use your brain to outsmart your enemy. But in
Yes.
swimming, like you can't.
Well, you can do what I have learned, particularly partially because again, my boss again, and because I'm DE, I'm watching the tribe constantly. Like what he's done is he's NT'd the fuck out of swimming because he's not the fastest swimmer there, but he's quite fast, faster than he probably should be because he's got the NT brain.
Sure, of
And
course.
he's figured out exactly how to, because it's the same route that we always swim. We're swimming from one beach to another, essentially. And one facing what east, one facing west. And he basically figured out where all the currents are. He's figured out how to swim with the proper technique. So there is, in order to be able to swim faster, there are things you can do to improve. But you are ultimately correct in that, yeah, like genetically, there is always going to be someone who's going to, be able to outmatch you. Like that, you can't fight against that. Whereas you're right, with the martial arts, you can use a lot of other animals in order to get by. Like that's what I did. Like part
Right.
of like someone of my type, a double feminine, gay, number like well, aside from ignore the number one part, but double feminine, double activated play, NF. What the fuck? Like that's not going. Who the fuck would think that person would get good at martial arts? But because I had the visual NT brain, I was able to puzzle it out and kind of learn all the mechanics of it in a way that was unusual compared to the other students around me. And that was the advantage that I had. And so it made up for the other deficits of being a tiny feminine kid,
Well, I
so,
do think at like high level, like any combat sport is NT. It's not because like
yeah,
I think the STSF, it's only to like a certain point where you get to a physical fitness. But at high level,
yeah,
when everyone's physical fitness is kind of like similar level, like obviously some will be stronger than the others. But
yeah,
it's not gonna be that. It's gonna be NT for sure. It's like who can outsmart the other. It's a chess, right?
yeah,
But the other thing I want to mention also is like I'm thinking about your personality type. I'm like looking at the history of people of your type, it seems like all the people in your like people of your type that is like number one, actually number one in life, super high level. They're all in the same field. They're all in like show business. They're either like script writers or talk show hosts or something like Ellen DeGeneres. I don't know what
yep.
type she is, but
It's double masculine version of my type.
yeah,
And
exactly. And then there's like that lady who wrote The Matrix, right? I was like,
yes,
the
Lana Wachowski.
yeah, and that
Yes,
Matrix is like it's a game changing like you know in the genre of film and not just film
yep,
storytelling. It
yep,
broke it broke everything like totally like how an EP should do it like this like
yes.
you know so like just looking at like you, I'm like thinking, why aren't you pursuing that? That seems to be the arena
I
where you
am. This is
oh
the
you are
thing. I am. But
okay
because
good.
I'm a generalist, I'm
Oh,
doing a
you're
lot of different.
distracted. You're distracted.
I'm distracted. Yeah, so I am pursuing that. So what I'm about to do actually is part of why I needed to enter recovery was because my life was so unmanageable. A lot of my pursuits of these kinds of goals were um not working out very well, basically, because
Sure.
I was just fucked. And so since then, I'm actually about to study musical theatre at a school in Adelaide for 3 years. I'm about
Okay.
to go do that.
Is
So
there
yeah,
is there a
sorry.
strong like scene in Australia for like movie industry or entertainment industry? Or
There is a scene, definitely,
is it
but I
strong
do
though?
this is I have in my mind that I'm eventually going to have to move either to the UK or the US. The
Yeah,
US at the moment, I'm like, I want to see if Civil War or World War III kind of breaks out before
probably
deciding to move
probably not.
there. Probably not. That's just my masculine end. Let my masculine end
Sure.
have
Yeah,
its
fair
fun.
enough. Yeah,
But like, probably not.
masculine
But
energy
like,
is really it's pretty strong. So
masculine N is the worst. Thank God I'm not masculine NI. That's the only
yeah,
one that I can see.
100%.
Yeah.
No,
Like that masculine NE at the top is crazy enough. Like Jesus fucking Christ.
but dude,
Like
dude, all the people in the Forbes top 10, I think, have masculine NE. So
really,
yeah, yeah, like Jeff
they
Bezos.
can't remember their own fucking name because of Demon Feminine SI.
Yeah, but they're the richest, so who cares? Who cares about your name? If you, yeah, if you're rich, if you're like performing at that level, it's ridiculous. Like Bill Gates, Elon Musk,
True. Yes,
Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they're all the double feminines, right?
that's true. Yeah.
Warren Buffett, like it's ridiculous, right? You know,
Yeah, I
um,
really liked actually. That reminds me of a video I was watching. I don't remember who, it was one of these interviews you were doing, and I don't remember who you were talking to, but you were talking about the difference between feminine any and masculine any, and how, from your perspective as a feminine any, you have the masculine enies have an easier time, which I found really hard to hear because I was like, fuck this shit. Masculine SI seems great. Let please, like, can someone
oh,
rid me of this? But yeah, sorry. But you were talking about how the masculine NEs can kind of do what the NIs do of lock on to a future
sure,
possibility, and then it doesn't matter what SI path they take towards it. And I was like, I'd never considered that before, but you're actually absolutely right. That is exactly what I do. Like that is how I pursued every single goal that I've had. Is like it started off, with the performing arts, then it was the martial arts, then it was the mathematician thing, then back to the performing arts. Like there's always been the goal is the same, but the path, it doesn't matter how I get there. And I was like, I never saw that as an advantage before. Whereas, or like a positive, I'd always seen it as like I've lost my keys again. Kind of
yeah,
like so like kind of and masculine SI seems like such an advantage. Or just I keep talking in terms of advantage. Just your life would be easier. Like that's more what I mean. Fucking number one. Anyway.
oh,
Yeah, sorry.
well, I just want to say two things. So the first one is
Yeah,
with masculine NE and feminine SI. So I have feminine NE and masculine SI. So what I wanted to do, because I decided to take a year off, a year to go live abroad, right, outside of Canada to really focus 100% on my YouTube channel before I go back to Canada. And I
yeah,
also made a conscious decision. I'm gonna use masculine NE and make my SI feminine. So I'm doing a 1 year experiment. Like I'm almost done. I'm going back to Canada in March.
yeah.
So I'm almost finished. Like excited. I completely live abroad for like a year, right? Which is really cool. Like Europe,
Wow, that's
Asia,
amazing.
South America. Yeah, yeah. This is my second time doing it. I've done it before too.
Yeah,
Like, the first time I did it as a backpacker. Now I'm doing it as a digital nomad. But
yeah.
so basically what I did is like I'm only gonna focus on the vision. Fuck the sensory, only the vision. I'm gonna run out of money. Who gives a shit? Like I'll worry about it later. Like I'll
Okay.
focus on the vision. I'll
I
focus on the
feel
vision.
don't I feel a need like someone double observe is what I felt. I felt like
No, but
hearing.
dude, no.
Okay.
Usually I'm very controlling with my SI, like with my finance.
Right. So you're
But
breaking yourself out of it.
but
Okay.
I want to do a social experiment on myself to see what will
Sure.
happen. Because like if saying like if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same results, right? So I'm gonna do something
Yes.
different. So I'm gonna try masculine Annie because I was like even fucking Mr. Beast, he has double feminine, like he's double feminine,
Yes.
masculine Annie. Like there's something about masculine Annie that's doing well. I don't know what it is. So I want to experiment, okay? So I'm like, okay, for 1 year, I'm gonna do masculine Annie. The vision. What is the vision? Well, before I left Canada, my YouTube channel had 4,800 subscribers. Now I'm almost at 20,000, which is ridiculous, right? So clearly focusing on the vision works because I'm like, I almost
Yeah.
4x my subscribers by doing this. But there is a side effect. I missed
Yes.
paying my credit card 5 times this year. And like one of my credit card went to collections, and I'm like, what the fuck? This never happens to me because like I'm always so good with controlling my sensory, but because I switch and
We
I'm
have the we have the opposite lessons here. This is because like what you're talking about there, like you're absolutely right in that is how a masculine any will operate. Like now that you're saying it out loud, I'm like, oh, I can absolutely see that is exactly what I'm doing, and all
yeah.
the masculine annies are doing. So you get so focused on the goal, you forget about all the SI preparation you need to do in order to maintain your life, in order to achieve the goal. So you just get hell bent on, and it's particularly like, if you're a number two, number three, you have some kind of drive somewhere, like, kind of, you're not a four who's like kind of just Um, like I see the fours as very balanced people, to be honest, because like they're constantly trying to maintain the
Right.
equilibrium of all the people around them. So like they don't tend to end up in these kinds of problems. But like kind of when you've got these big goals and things like this, you end up sort of what you're describing of like you miss your credit card payments. That's my life. Is that and part of what I've had to learn in recovery is it's not just recovery from the addiction, it's recovery from all the unmanageability in your life. And for me, a large part of that has been financial recovery. So something that I'm doing is I'm solidifying my SI. And what I'm doing with that is my boss, who I mentioned before, he's also a mentor for me in this area in terms of financial recovery. He has masculine SI, so he's naturally a bit better with this. And I basically am tracking my expenses every day in an app, and I am creating different bins of where I put all my money and making sure that every single cent is accounted for in everything that I spend, and making sure that I save a certain amount, basically to avoid the tidal wave that you just had, which is the normal demon feminine SI tidal wave is the like, oh yeah, doesn't matter. I'll just spend whatever I want and no consequences. And if I run out of food, who cares? I'm heading towards the goal. Like, so it's interesting to see we're having to do the opposite, like calcification
Dude,
process.
I was horrified. Like I was talking to American
Yeah,
Express a few days
it's
ago. I'm like,
horrible.
they're like, your credit card's in collection. I'm like, it's in collections? I'm like, this never
We're
happens.
also observer freaking out. Just put that
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
but I'm like, well, it's in collections. Are you fucking kidding me? I always pay my credit card bill and I'm like, where's the notification? They're like, no, it's in collection. You forgot to pay it. I'm like, and it's been 90 days. I'm like, what? I'm like, but I canceled this credit card. They're like, well, there was a pending transaction right after you canceled it. I'm like, what? So it's like, so I'm like, oh, I see now. So, but it's like, I also couldn't deny that if I never did this, I would never 4x my subscriber count.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, what are you supposed to do? Because like the
Oh,
benefit, no,
meant to
but
double observe, unlike us idiots.
no, but is that really the case though? I'm really thinking about it because I'm like, are you supposed to do both? Because it seems like it's hard. Like when I went all in the masculine
It
and
is.
E, I mean, sorry, I was like,
Yeah.
this fucking thing works. It's retarded. It's like,
I know. And the thing is, I also like, if you want the honest truth, even though it's my savior at the top, I also think it's retarded. Like sorry, I've also just heard the FE tribe screaming in my head, this is FE for you, that you just said the word retarded, you're gonna burn in hell. Like that was like literally,
oh
like,
yeah,
so, yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, that distracted me. But yeah, but it is, yeah, it's not, it doesn't make any sense. The manifestation stuff should not work. It's, just confirmation bias. That's exactly what it is. But it works, I think, because you end up just forcing yourself into the actions that would make that goal happen
of
anyway.
course.
Like, that's exactly what it's doing. And I get even cringed out when I hear, I'm having an observer moment. I'm getting cringed out even when like I hear people talking about like how I manifested this and manifested that and manifested this and I'm like it, but I can't argue with their results because I do see it working for. There's an ESFJ number one lady who I know who's like a double feminine FESI blast play consume number one, who's like one of the most assholey badass women I've ever met in my life. Yet she's double feminine FE at the top. But she does this shit and she's on board with her masculine NE in a way that I've never really seen someone with a demon B before. And she talks about how she has an SI ritual to do her vision boards and her manifestations to actually kind of make these goals happen. And it's worked. She has a successful business in online marketing that's building and getting her somewhere. So it's sort of like I basically why I'm trying to bring that example up is like you're it's not just working for you in this instance, or I guess me by default because of my brain wiring and all the other people. It's working elsewhere. Yeah, I see this pattern that you're talking about. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, for sure. Like, there's like definitely a lot more examples, which I'll mention in a second. But like, I
yeah,
think because I had a coach a long time ago who kind of did like kind of like a life coach, you could say. But he was not
yeah.
really he was an INTJ. My only problem with him was he was consume last because like some of his advice were bullshit. But like,
Yes.
but a lot of the advice were
Yeah.
also good. Were also good.
I have
So
a class mentor like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You have to be careful just like with the consume last. You have to like always like fact check them. But anyways, like the point is like Because I mean they're not all bullshit. Because obviously they have
No, no.
the double activated blast experience is still
Yes.
useful. But
Can I, sorry, can I interrupt
yeah,
for
sure, sure,
just because that reminded me of particularly we're both play, we both
sure.
tribe members are fascinating, so that you might find this fascinating. Is there's a mentor that I have who's a consume last. What I think he is, and I could be completely wrong, but what I think he is audio NEFE play blast sleep number one. That's what I think his type is. And he's just
You're
this
so like an ENTP jumper also.
an ENTP jumper, but consume last.
Oh, weird.
And
Okay.
yeah, and audio and number one. So it's like, what the fuck type are you? Kind of like, but like you meet him, he's this like crazy, like look, looks like a rocker kind of dude, like kind of who like will kind of is quite friendly, but then will come up to you and just start lecturing you about how you need to better your life and how you need to do your dishes and do this and do that and do this and do that and you need to learn how to be in relationship. He's preaching friends. It's weird. Like it's so weird to see a number one preaching friendship and he's
Speaking,
preaching like
isn't that good though? He's
yeah,
speaking his demons.
it's really good. No, it's I mean it in a good way. Like he's a really positive like example, but it's so funny interacting with him because he's just such an aggressive motherfucker. Like he looks like he's, in the Mad Max movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Oh,
and he's got, different tattoos, whatever, and it's just like kind of speaking NF crazy shit all the time, but
yeah.
has these really good nuggets of wisdom about how and he reads all the time. He reads every day. He has built it into his routine, into his consume last routine. And it's just it's been yeah, I wanted to bring that up as like like I know because it can be hard sometimes when your type can feel like as much as your saviors give you this high, it's also this sort of like burden of like crap, I've always got this imbalance that I have to manage. But it's given me hope that like there are people who are getting out of this who have wilder fucking crazier types than me. Like kind of like,
Yeah,
and they're doing it. What's to stop any of us?
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I want to go back to like what my coach said to me. So by the way, I knew
Yeah.
my coach right away was an INTJ because he was
Yeah.
producing videos and one of his videos he was literally screaming at his printer and he's double masculine. He's like punching it. He's like literally punching his fucking printer. He's like, you
Okay.
fucking piece of shit. This fucking
Hi,
piece of
David.
shit never works.
How are you?
I'm like, I was like, huh, he is an INTJ. Like he's like the only thing that triggered, and he's
Yeah.
a number one too, because he has no friends, right? No offense, but like, like he has no.
It's
Um,
true.
and the only thing he cares about is his legacy, right? Like he says he has friends, and he sees them
Yeah.
maybe like once every 5 years or something. Like it's really bad. It's like horrific, right? But because he has FI, he still sees them as his friend, even though he never sees them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so anyways, the point is, he said
Yeah.
one of his best advice he ever gave me was he said the period between January 2nd and the end of May is called
Mhm.
go time because during that time period, um there's not much happening. Like there's no major holidays and not much major get together that can distract you, like Christmas, for example, right? And
Mhm.
it's not like summer where people are having barbecues and shit, right? So he said that period of time is called go time because if you have a 1 year goal, there's a chance you can complete it between um start of January, end of May. And
Really?
yeah, so he said that. And he said usually between June, July, and August, you're gonna be more distractible. You can't fight it. It's just gonna happen. Like maybe in North
Why
America,
July? Why? Yeah. All right. Okay. The summer
it's
months.
it's
So
op-
January,
it's
February.
opposite for you guys, but like that,
Yeah.
so you can just translate in your terms. But like
January and
you're gonna
February.
be more like distractible in those terms. And then September to about like early November, there's like a small window you can get a lot done. But
Mhm.
usually not even November, but usually like September and October. And then like
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of November, but then by mid-November to December, you're distracted again. So
Yeah.
when I heard him say that, um, I've been doing some social experiments myself also. So I remember I took 1 year to go travel and live abroad, right, to work on my YouTube channel.
No. It's awesome that you're doing that, by the way. I just want to say that, like, I
Oh, thank
really
you.
have a lot of respect for all the stuff you're doing with your channel and the travel. I think it's a really, like, you live in the life you want to live. It's
Thank
great.
you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Because like, yeah, when I was younger, I said to myself, I don't want to have a normal life, so I'm doing this.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can relate to you there.
but it wasn't to beat anybody. I'm not like high flex.
No,
I
that's it's the generalist thing. I get it. I
yeah,
understand that.
I just
Yeah,
wanted the life like Indiana Jones. That's what I wanted. So anyways, like but
that's
anyways,
Yeah.
I want people to look at me. I look because like I don't flex, right? So I want people to look at me. It's like, oh, this guy's just like a normal dude. But then when they get
Yeah.
to know me, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? You live outside Canada for 2 years and
The
you've been to over
flex
100
unit.
countries. And I was like, and it's like I want
I'm
them
just
to
a regular guy.
yeah, but I want people to look at me like I look like just like a regular guy. But then when they get to know me, they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like
Yeah.
you went to Congo when there's Ebola. You went to Venezuela when there's a civil war. You know,
Holy shit.
you've been with a smuggler in South America in the Amazon rainforest. Oh, I've been to in a lot of shit. Okay,
How are you alive? It's
yeah,
what I'm
I don't
thinking.
know, man. But like I've been stranded in Iran. They took both my passports and I couldn't get out. Like just happened last year, actually. It's so scary. But
Yeah.
like, so I like a lot of shit happened to me. But I look like a regular guy, so people don't notice.
Yeah.
But like
True.
the point, like, um, so basically, when I did this social experiment, I did notice that his theory was correct because
Yeah.
between January and um, I would say it's not even up to May. I think I was able to push it until June, maybe. I was able to
Mhm.
do like insane amount of work in my YouTube channel to the point where like I got massive results. And then freaking July and August, I got super distracted. Everything went to shits.
Oh,
And then September and October, again, high productivity. November,
yeah.
December, shit. So like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait, I have this data point now. And then and I wasn't trying to like force it into like the NI of my coach.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was actually true though, because in the summer I get distracted. I wanted to go hang out with friends. I wanted to go like,
Yeah.
it's like nice weather and shit. And then Christmas, like it's all family time, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
I couldn't focus. Now it's January. I'm like, I'm in a machine, dude. Like I have this freaking like thing to-do list, like SI to-do list here. I have like, dude, like I'm not, maybe I should show this to you after the interview, actually. Not gonna show you this after. But like, not that one. After,
Don't share every single piece of
no, no,
information that you have.
yeah, no, I looked at it. I'm like, maybe not after, like maybe
Yeah,
after
yeah. We're
but
both
like,
EP. We're both gonna
yeah,
like,
no,
here's my alpha drawer. Let's look at yours. Let's
yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
that's why I stopped myself. I'm like, no, I'm gonna put it back.
right.
Like, dude, but basically, like yesterday, dude, I only ate one. That's why I was like, I sent you the link earlier late because like,
Okay.
I was doing an interview, but I was starving because I only ate once yesterday. Because yesterday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. I was just working. I was just working.
As a savior consume, I please eat.
No,
Why
no,
do you fucking starve
I
yourself?
no, but I saw it as a benefit though. I'm like, oh, I need to lose weight anyway, so I just thought it's a fasting.
Starving yourself is not a way to do that, mate.
But it's only
Please,
once.
please eat.
It's only twice a week to do that. But I'm not
Okay,
consuming. I'm
all
not
right. You can
consumer.
argue it's intermittent fasting. You can argue that. All right, fine, fair enough.
I have consumed third, so it's not missing, dude. So, um,
I know. I'm just like, I have blaster, doesn't mean I'm fucking good at it. That's all I'm
yeah, no,
saying.
fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, yeah. So, anyways, that's it. So basically, the point is like earlier, like when I was mentioning that I practiced the masculine and e feminine SI thing, where I missed 5 credit card payments. One of my card went to collections and shit. Like I resolved part of it already. So the American Express promised to pull it out of the collect of my credit report. So I'm like, thank God. So I still have some missed payments, but it's not the end of the world because collections even worse, right? But like,
Yeah.
I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. So if I'm gonna be a double observer, but also using reality as what do you call it? Like as a tool to succeed,
Yeah.
then really the best thing to do is use masculine NE from January to May or even June, and then
Oh,
back to masculine SI, um, those 2 months, like June, July, and August. For me, it could be it's different for you because you're in the southern hemisphere, and then
yeah.
masculine NE again, September and October, and then masculine SI again, November, December. I'm like, oh, that feels like the sweet spot to do this because like I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot, because I know my work rate's gonna be shit anyways in this month because
Yeah.
like athletes they have off season. Like you need off
Yes.
season. Like I'm
Yes.
learning this now. And especially
Yeah.
for us, dude, we're sleep last. Like we need
A
rest.
sleep last,
We
and
need
but
to rest.
the generalist is like, but I have to be responsible for all of it all the time. And like kind of yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not healthy, dude. We're not healthy.
I,
We're sleep last. You're number one. You have the drive. I'm number two. I'm obsessed with working. Like
yeah.
it's just it won't stop. So we need to
No.
schedule like off season. In the off season,
Yes.
it's actually going to increase your performance later on. So it's actually not
100%.
it's not a waste of time. You're not wasting your time.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. And we're both demon peacocking right now. But you're absolutely, but you are correct. And I want to share in this, like, yeah, like do the sleep. To all the other sleep blasts out there, do the fucking sleep as I'm talking to myself, because that is literally where it like the little decisions, like even like I found a large part of like the recovery process for me has literally just been make sure you get at least 7 hours of sleep a night. That's it. And non-negotiable. A masculine SI, well, non-negotiable. Like, so basically that is now my goal every single day. It's like I have to like, okay, no matter what I've done that day, I know that I have to be up for the swim at 5 a.m. So I have to be in bed by 10. Like there's no, like it doesn't fucking matter. Whether I achieve that every single day or not is a different question, but having the goal actually means that I'm more likely to achieve it than not. So it's and I've noticed just the significant benefits. And even also like not just doing the sleep, but doing what the energy DOMs do, the energy preservation game, because I've seen again this play blast sleep that I've also his mentor worked with. Part of how I figured out that he was sleep third and not consume third was that I actually saw him taking breaks and consciously doing that himself. And because I couldn't figure, I was like, he's definitely play blast and a crackhead, but I was like, is it consume blast or sleep blast? And I was like, no, but he's the one who's saying, yeah, let's stop for a bit and rest, not me. He's the one saying that.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so yeah, so I was like, okay, this is probably sleep third as opposed to consume third. And what it's made me start thinking about more is like, and I see this when I'm doing exercise or doing the swimming, for example, like rather than like I have to go all out every single time, it's like, okay, when I'm doing this, when I've because it's easy with the swim to see, because I can see there's like you swim to one beach and then you swim back. So you have the choice of whether you do both there and back or you can walk back. So by the time I get there, I like go into my sleep or try to anyway, and like be like, okay, is my body doing all right? Can I go for another swim or not? And not only that question, tomorrow, will I regret going for another swim right now? Like, will I be too tired to do the things that I have to do later today or tomorrow? And if the answer is yes, then I just leave it and then I get out of the water. And actively practicing this, I've found has been really good at actually like meaning. Obviously, I'm still a sleep last crackhead. I still have the kind of overworking problems, but it's just 10% better. It's 10% better because it's like, okay, you're actually trying to actively manage your energy levels. Like, it doesn't mean do nothing. It just means like be conscious of you only have so many energon cubes throughout the day. Whereas you and I will forget that. We'll think you're like, oh yeah, I can just keep going, no sleep all through the night. Doesn't fucking matter. No, no food, no nothing. Like just let's just go. But that
It's
doesn't
it's
work out
it's
long
it's
term.
hard. It's hard. I battle with
Yeah.
that all the time. I'm always like in the middle of my work, I'm like I'm dying. Like I want to rest, but I'm thinking I'm
Yep.
like if I rest, this is not gonna get done, you know. So
Ah,
it's like it's one of those things like and like I can't really rest because I'm thinking about it, you know. So it's like it's like one of
yeah.
those things. I think it's an info dump thing,
Yes, it's
but yeah,
true.
yeah, no, for sure. But dude,
Because the information's not balanced if I stop. That's
yeah, I want
yeah.
to ask you one last question to wrap up
Yeah,
this
ask me.
interview. So this
Yeah.
is it's kind of long though, so I want to ask you.
Yeah,
So
okay.
your ST sleep lasts. So
Yes.
my final question to you is, in your ideal scenario, if you can have like the perfect situation for yourself, what would be
Hmm.
your perfect health SITI routine for yourself? So
Ooh.
exercise, nutrition, sleep, and mental health. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect SITI
for yourself,
routine.
if you can have it.
Okay, if I can have it, the perfect one would be one where I want to get to the point where I'm doing regular exercise each week. The goal at the moment is doing this ocean swimming every day, but at the very least, ocean swimming is a form of exercise I found that is really works for me quite well. So, and gives me a lot of the, endorphin rush of the cold water and also the intense cardio workout, full body workout, and also like me being feminine sensory, weightlifting and things like that is just a little bit too much for me. So like at this time. And so yeah, doing that uh, at the moment every day, but at least 3, 4 times a week. In terms of food, it would be I recently in the past 6 months have found out that I need to be gluten free. That was another sleep last thing I was unaware of, that I had a lot of stomach problems, brain fog, and things like this, and I didn't realize what was going on until I accidentally stopped eating gluten because of a demon SI crash with my money, and then was like, oh, I feel loads better. what's going on? Then went to the doctor and found out, okay, you probably got an intolerance. You'll be better without it. So basically, excluding gluten from my diet, eating 3 square meals a day with making sure at breakfast I like to eat a some kind of gluten-free muesli with milk, yogurt, berries, and then lunch and dinner time more some kind of animal protein in there. And making sure that throughout the week I'm having red meat at least twice, if not 3 times a week, to make sure that my vitamin B12 levels don't go too low, and also make trying to get a mixture of a variety of different foods, which is hard for me because I have SI, so I like to eat the same things over and over again. And the ideal as well is that I make all of my own food. So that removes any possibility of me being glutened at a restaurant, and also means that I'm more financially manageable because I'm keeping track of everything that I'm spending on what I eat and making sure that I am choosing healthy ingredients, making sure that I've got, right amount of carbs, right amount of vegetables, right amount of fruit, right amount of meat, right amount of everything. So my ideal SITI routine for my diet would be that. Then for sleep, it would be I'm learning that I need about probably 8 hours a night ideally. I'm settling for 7 at the moment, mainly because uh, earlier on in recovery, like a big problem was the sleep issue, and I had a lot of other things that were going on that were contributing to me not getting enough sleep. And so the fact that it's increased to 7 hours a night is like that's a massive win. We were getting like 3 or 4 a year ago, so that's improvement, and it'll get better with time. So ideally 8 hours, but roughly around 7 to 8 hours a night. And yeah, I think what else would I say in terms of my health routine? And also just keeping up with personal hygiene and things like this. This is something that I do notice. I tend to kind of get a little uh uh what do you call it? I can't think of the words. I lose track of sometimes when I'm really busy. Is like I'll have a day where I'm like, oh, I've showered, but I didn't brush my teeth. Oh, I brushed my teeth, but I didn't shower. Or I've done like that kind of thing. So making sure that I do those kinds of routines every day. And yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, I think that's what I would say for my SITI sleep health
What
routine.
about the mental health, like emotion and
Mental health. Oh yeah. So thank you for that. What I do for that is through recovery, I have to do this thing where I do an inventory each day. So the inventory is basically like that process I was telling you before about where I was writing out all my resentments. This is like a daily version of that. So basically, the idea behind it is that you prevent any resentments from building up, which then kind of prompt you to start using your vice of choice. So in an ideal world, would be doing that every day. At the moment, I'm doing it once a day or every day or every 2 days. And by doing that, it means that, and a lot of it is actually resentments towards myself. It's not necessarily towards other people. And not only in that, the way you do the process is you start off with like, I am resentful of blank, whoever it is. What's causing the resentment? Okay, the resentment is, I don't know, my boss, uh, kind of, I felt that my boss blamed me for X, let's say, for I don't know, leaving um, some tool in the dirt or something like that. And then how does it affect me? It affects my emotional stability, my self-esteem, etc. Then what did I do to contribute to this resentment? This is where the demon DI comes into play. It's like now it's not just about the other person. It's like, what did I do? Okay, well, I didn't put the tool back in the appropriate place when I could have. And where have I been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, fearful, or inconsiderate? And then I write down which ones of those I've been. And then finally, you have the how am I going to make amends? And that's not necessarily a like you're not necessarily saying I'm sorry. It can be like you're making a living amends where you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to practice putting that tool in the right spot from now on, and that's the way I'm going to make amends for this because it depends on yeah. So that there's that process, and then in an ideal world as well, this is something that I'm not currently doing enough of, but would be I need to meditate regularly. I'm not doing that right now. That's in the future pile of things to add to the routine. But yeah, I do need to meditate regularly. Um, I'm kind of getting away with it a little bit because the exercise I do in the morning naturally, the repetitive nature of it kind of puts you into sort of a very meditative state, I've found. But I do recognize I probably need to practice doing it. Whereas at the moment I'm doing it more when I particularly need it. Whereas I think it's probably going to be better if I do that every day. And or at least a few times a week. And uh the other thing for mental health, I think something I need to start doing as well is a gratitude list. That's something I don't do and I should do because I notice myself getting into like, demon TI, like kind of negative thought spirals of like kind of like is this ever going to get better? Is this all, are you ever going to be good enough? And kind of like actually, making a regular practice of, what am I grateful for today? I'm grateful that I get to breathe today. I'm grateful that I have two working legs. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to actually kind of start connecting with people in a way that I was not capable of before, thanks to recovery. I'm grateful that I've received a lot of help um, in terms of trying to head towards these career goals I'm about to pursue. I'm grateful for my family relationships are getting better. It's so that's what I'd say for the mental health side of things. And one thing I left out of the physical health is I need to sunscreen regularly because I live in a UV high country. But that's what I can think of there. And overall, I need to be less hard on myself. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
that's a
I'd
good
say.
one, especially for number ones. Yeah, yeah, you have to be nice to yourself and like treat yourself like a friend, because I don't think number ones are friends with themselves. Uh,
No, not naturally. Not naturally, no.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I was also thinking about like when you were saying all this SITI stuff for yourself, I was comparing with SIFI also. So
Oh
there's
yeah.
there's a lot of overlaps like with the health routine. There's a lot of similarities for sure. Like
Yeah.
nutrition, and exercise.
Mhm.
The sleep processing though, that one is different. Like when you're making a list, because you're looking at like all the stuff that that you can work on in yourself. And you're also doing it with a filter of TI, which is like, is this true? Am I really a dick?
Yes.
Am I a dick? Is this true? Like, it's like, so it's different from FI. So but it's interesting to
Yeah.
see the TI perspective.
I
Uh
mean, this is partially, I didn't come up with this necessarily. This is what I learned through recovery, but it works quite well for the TI way of
yeah,
doing things. Yeah.
it's
Uh,
definitely a way of doing things.
yeah.
Um
What do you do out of curiosity? What's the difference like that you would see in your sleep processing?
for well, it's FI, so it's emotion. So basically it's like uh I'm thinking, I was like, okay, what emotion, SI, specific word for the emotion, am I um having the most hard time with right now. So then
Mm.
I'll think about it. I'll usually be doing like cardio. That's when I'm like sleep processing. And then I'm
Yep.
thinking like, oh, okay. Um, I'm feeling angry. So and then I go deeper in SI. Why am I feeling angry? I feel angry because I got disrespected. Okay. And then I go even deeper. It's like, why do I feel disrespected? Like, why am I
Yep.
feeling disrespected? And how is it my fault that I'm getting disrespected? Oh, I'm
Mm.
getting disrespected because I'm fucking SF last. I'm not respecting the SF, so the SF people are disrespecting me. So if I don't want to get respected in the SF, then I need to respect the SF. So I need to groom myself, do all that SF bullshit,
Yes.
and then that I won't have the SF problem because I had when I was younger and I had the SF under control when I was like in college. I was like 9% body fat. I was like really fit. I did my hair. I was wearing chains.
Yeah.
I was like
Damn. Full on audio look.
yeah,
Audios
yeah,
love this.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was like Jack too. I was pretty Jack. Like I went to school. Like people went to my house parties and stuff. I never had this problem at all.
Yeah.
And then when I got rid of it, and then all these problems started coming back, and I'm like, okay, well, it's my fault, right? But so
Yeah.
anyway, that's how the sleep processing works, and it affects like
It's
other
interesting the way you're talking about it. I can definitely relate, particularly being technically demon SF as well, in
yeah
terms of the like having to take care of the things to make sure that you're actually cool, whereas I don't naturally care about that.
yeah.
But it's interesting hearing that you're really diving into the emotion in a deeper way than I probably would, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting hearing that. And also how much you're tied to the like kind of because you would think someone like my type being FE that the coolness game would be so much more of a thing I would care about. Whereas your identity is tied to this like I have to be perceived as cool and popular. Whereas like in my mind, like if I look at like I've already accepted I'm NEFE. There's no way I'm ever going to play the popularity game well. Well, it's weird. You would think I would, but because of there's so many different parts of my type that kind of
Well,
mean it's like yeah,
you can
popularity.
do it if you want, but it's not like your preferred, I think. Like you don't care
It's
enough.
not no.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to play the competence game. Yes,
Yeah, the
that's
competence game, exactly. Yeah. Like
yeah,
if you look at Mr. Beast, right? He's an ENFP. Well, guess what?
yeah,
He's the most popular YouTuber in the world. Like, so
true.
yeah,
He
number one,
is.
because people think, oh, he's altruistic because he's giving away all the stuff. Actually, that's his NF consume because your consume animal,
Yeah.
that's your that's the image you're projecting to the outside world. That's a consume. So
Yes.
his consume is NF. That's why it comes across as altruistic, but it's bullshit because it's fake because really he just wants to be famous and popular. Because that's the sleep, right? So
Yeah, interesting. No,
yeah,
it's true. It's interesting how the consume really is fake in a way, but it's what people see.
yeah.
Um,
Everyone thinks
because
ENTPs are smart because the anti-consume, right?
yeah,
But deep down inside, what does the ENTP want? Competence. You know?
yes, 100%, which is sort of I have well, partially because I'm Demon TI, I have a hard time owning the like the
Sure.
am I really smart? Like there is that factor as well, but I also can double decide my way out of that. But there is the yeah, deep down I really and particularly being sleep last and feminine SI as well. It's like oh, that's a really hard thing to achieve, but I so want to
But
like yeah.
you can because look at Tom Cruise. Double feminine
Yeah,
ST sleep. Double feminine
that's
ST
true.
sleep.
He's one of
Yeah.
the most competent people ever. That's
Yes.
true.
He does his
And
own
if I'm,
stunts. So
yeah, he does his own stunt. Like that's the actually when you think about it, like if I think about like the career that I'm pursuing, for example, in the performing arts, it's not, I don't want to be, I don't care about the coolness factor of it. What I care about is how good of a singer am I? How good of a dancer am I? How good of an actor am I? How competent and then not just only that like I don't want to just be good at the performance side of things. I also want to write music for shows. I want to be able to work in the tech crew. I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to there's some generalists coming out there, but it's kind of I want to be able to own every single TI part of the industry. Like
yeah.
that's sort of that what where I see my goal more heading towards. And I have some past experience doing that through my parents' plays and things that we were doing when I was younger. But yeah, I can see there's a difference. It's not about the like oh people see me as cool. I'm like I kind of like well I'm not really cool and never will be
Don't
but
really
I
care at the same time.
yeah well I kind of do but I kind of like
It's
I'm
not
I'm a
number it's not number
five
one.
foot six. I'm a 5'6" nerdy guy, gay guy. Who the fuck is gonna think I'm cool? Like, no one.
Well,
Like,
I mean, if you look at the guy that was named the Tyrion Lannister guy, he's shorter. He's
oh yeah, true.
he's cool as fuck, and
He is very cool. I
yeah,
don't know what type he is. I know
he's
he's
a
an IP. That's all I know.
yeah.
But
They type him as an ISTP, right?
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
see that.
yeah. Number three. He's a number three. So
Great. Yeah, that tracks.
yeah, really good, amazing actor. Like
Oh yeah,
you never think of him as a dwarf. You think of him as an amazing actor. Like
yeah, exactly. And
he's
that's
yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. And it's amazing nowadays that, people like him can have the opportunities to be able to show the world that like you know, we can play these kinds of roles, like because in the past, like he wouldn't have been able to do that through no fault of his own. Like it was just different times. Like it's actually a really positive thing that he's sort of paved the way for a lot of other performers in
I
that.
think he also got lucky because he got a role that is actually a dwarf, but then
Yes,
it's a dwarf
true.
that has complex that is a complex character. So he was able to demonstrate his
Yes,
competence as an actor through playing that
yes,
role. And then now, and that specific character, Tyrion Lannister, he's smart and he's strategic, right? So now
yes,
people associate his character with the actual actor, so they see him as like a smart, strategic guy who's also like has a depth of character. Wants FE in the end, like, ultimately the FE in the end. Actually, his character almost like is actually his real person, because like
Yeah,
he just the Tyrion Lannister, he just wants love from his family, right? And he never got
he
it,
did.
right? Except for his brother. So like him as an ISTP, he could kind of relate with that. So I think he could like
Yeah,
you know
build it into the character really well. It's good
yeah,
casting. It's really,
yeah,
really good
really
casting.
good casting. Yeah.
Also, I my saviors are coming out here. I feel the need to say this. Like I'm you keep saying dwarf. That's effing inappropriate. It's little person. I don't know if you know that. Just because I know you're not tracking the FE spectrum, but I'm like,
But is it TI
that
true also? That, that
it is TI. It's TI true. But it's like
I'm also in a country.
close to the N word is what I'd say.
Okay, 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 okay. I'll just
Yeah,
say a few things. Number one, when I was in Africa, someone gave me the N pass, so technically I can say it. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. Someone actually did give me an N pass.
I believe you.
There's
I believe
African
you.
guy said you can call me dad. I'm not gonna call you dad. I feel weird, but thank you. I
Yeah.
do. But that is the biggest compliment I've heard. Like
Well, this
I wish I could put it around my neck like N pass, certified.
well, I'm happy to like this is because it's my word. I'm happy to give you the fag pass. I don't give a fuck about that word. People do, but I do
Yeah.
not.
Okay. Okay. I'll need to have like the F pass and the N pass in my shirt. I need to have that. But
Yes.
thank you.
Decide
I
as a
appreciate. I really
yeah.
appreciate that. If people give me the most offensive word as a pass, that is like a huge compliment to me. That is the fucking huge compliment.
Well, because it's I think anyway, now I'm not going to get into my ENTP
Oh,
labels talk,
okay.
but
By the way,
words are ridiculous.
I just
Anyway,
want to say
yes.
something really interesting also because I'm doing a lot of social experiment on myself. Um,
Okay.
for some reason, when I make content when I'm in North America and I'm
Yeah.
making content and maybe even in Europe. I'm
Yeah.
more concerned about being socially appropriate because I am aware of what's socially appropriate. And I'm not stupid. Like I am aware because I'm DE,
You
right?
are a double decider, aren't you?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
so
Yeah.
I'm aware. Like I won't say the word retarded when I'm in Canada because I think, oh, that's really bad, right? But like for some reason, when I'm in Asia or Africa or South America, where people just say offensive stuff all the time and they don't even care, and it's like it's not even a big deal.
Yeah.
And like even especially like when I went to like Eastern Europe, like in like Russia, for example, like they just say the worst, most offensive thing you could ever think of, like
I
in
can
normal
imagine.
conversation. And I get influenced by that. And I don't know because I'm DE or whatever. And like I'm like, oh, now it's
I
cool. Sorry,
yeah. No, I was just gonna say I can completely relate to what you're saying, and I understand. Like, when you're the product of the people you're around, particularly when you're DE, like it's gonna seep into your language, and like I can relate to that. Like the two bosses that I'm working for, who are neither homophobic nor racist nor sexist in their actions,
yeah,
but in how they talk, it's filthy. It's the most filthy kind of derogatory shit you'll ever hear. Like stuff that I haven't heard, you wouldn't think like it's at the 1950s. Like kind of like, but you look at their track record of how they actually treat people, they're not,
yeah.
it doesn't fit their words.
I
So
think
and I've had to find myself like kind of like I've been influenced by it
no,
too.
but
So
dude, I think deciders need to learn that um
yes.
because like the words they might not necessarily they're not a bad person to say all that stuff. It's just maybe the way they talk because
Yes.
the action speaks louder than words ultimately. So
Yes.
yeah.
True.
So but I think there's definitely as an EP, we're both EPs, right? There's definitely a liberating feeling to just say all the worst possible things, and like yeah, and
Oh, yes, there is.
it's just like
I unfortunately have the FE tribe. Like having FE, it's like because when I'm around my family, who, spoiler alert, I think my family, both my parents are an audio and a double feminine version of my type and also number ones.
okay,
Like, so when we're alone, like the most offensive shit ever gets said. Like, it's just this like particularly because of the demon friends as well. Like it's just this like absolute kind of double decider fest. Like if there was cameras in the room, we'd all be sent to jail. Like kind of like, and but what I noticed with my FE is that I have the FE tribe screaming in my head, which is the social justice warrior being like, but that's not right. That's gonna make someone feel bad. Shut up.
hey,
Go
hey,
back to
hey, dude,
you know.
I have an actual question here. I'm really curious about FB, okay? Because I was
Yeah,
reading the Facebook group and there was like a girl who I interviewed in the past who was
yeah.
so when Donald Trump won the election,
Oh yeah.
she said I just want to be here to make sure that, for the people who's upset right now. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, isn't FE tracking the tribe spectrum? What about the people who are happy that, like, okay, number one, happy that he won, and number two,
Yeah,
like when someone is saying something really offensive, like the N word or the retard word, or the
yeah,
the gay F word, right? Like, so someone's gonna be upset, but there's also people who's gonna be happy. So
yeah.
why is there like a focus on the unhappy people when you're tracking the spectrum, you
I
know?
think what I would say is think about it like this for just DE generally, remove the F or the T from it. Like in your work that you do, what you did as a fitness instructor,
Yeah,
if you're seeing a student of yours, if you're running of like a class of say 15 people,
yeah,
are you going to focus more attention naturally on the people who are struggling or the people who are doing well?
right, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Yeah,
This is the same. FE is like it's seeing the spectrum and it's seeing that loads of people are happy that Donald Trump got elected. But now this is the thing, I can only speak from my perspective here. Like, I don't know whether this person's a decider or a double decider or whatever.
double
Is
decided.
that double decider? Okay. So they can double decider see, like, regardless of type, that Donald Trump is just a number one out of control. Like,
Sure, sure,
that's,
fair enough.
like, they can see that. And they can see, well, I don't know what observers they have, but they can see that long term, his effect on the tribe is going to be emotionally negative. So, who's the people that are happy that he's elected are now less important than the people who are unhappy because long term he's going to cause more negative chemicals. That's why is sort of my interpretation of it. Even
Interesting.
though that's this also depends on whether the person's a Trump supporter or not, because whether their TI truth is attached to him or not. Because
Sure.
like for me personally, like I think Donald Trump is like you know, I think he's one of the worst humans alive. Like so, like that's how I'm going to perceive it. But then why you have people like Matt Gaetz, for example, the FESE number one, who's like on his side,
Yeah,
he's seeing the side of the Trump supporters, and he's
sure.
seeing that those people who are hurting and struggling, which is a very legitimate issue, and I actually personally think is a problem with this cancel culture that we fucking have and FE generally is that like we focus so much on trying to help those that are more obviously disadvantaged by someone like Donald Trump than actually addressing the concerns of the people who are happy that he won in the sense that they have very legitimate concerns about their livelihoods, their you know the state of the economy, the their lack of opportunity in life that are not being addressed by the supposed FEs out there or Democrats out there who are trying
Sure.
to help everybody. Like, but they're being ignored and told that they're racist and told that they're fucking, you know, uh, that they need to get on board with us. Then there's no reaching out to them. So I see that as a problem. But I can speak to why FE does that is because if my T well for me, if my TI truth is locked onto you're going to cause all these negative chemicals long term, then the focus is on helping those people instead of helping the people who are happy right now because it's short term wins versus long term wins. That's sort of how I would put
Uh,
it.
No, that makes sense. It's like TE, because TE it only cares about what works, right? So you
Yeah.
don't care about something that's already working. You care about something that's not
Yes.
working. So it's kind of like FE, like the emotion is not working. So the emotion needs to be
Yes.
fixed. So it's um
Yeah.
you have the ideal one, which is happiness. Um, I think also Donald Trump is a representation of. I think the woke culture is what got him voted to begin with, just
Yeah.
because it started becoming
Yeah.
too restrictive and militant. So I think Donald Trump is he's I think Donald Trump, he's an ESTP first of all, and when he
Yes.
talks, he's unhinged also, right? So I
Yes.
think people like wanted to vote for him because he represents their pent up emotion
Yeah.
that they wanted to release. So
Rebellion. Yeah.
rebellion, exactly, rebellion. So I think if like the woke people didn't want him to get voted, I think they should have just toned down their woke activism, and he would have not never gotten voted.
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
at the very least, do it in a less condescending way. Like that's,
Yeah.
I think, the large problem is this, like, we're telling, well, I'm
Oh,
speaking
it's
as an individual.
masculine FE. The woke is masculine FE. That's why it's so aggressive. It's not
Really?
like
Oh, okay. Interesting. I hadn't perceived it that way. Interesting. Why do you think it's masculine, Effie?
Well,
Why?
because you get canceled if you don't adhere to what is politically correct or socially correct. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
so a threat from the tribe coming at you if you don't adhere. And
Yes.
so
Yes. True. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, from the masculine FP's perspective, yeah, if I do anything ever that is going to offend the tribe emotionally, then my head gets cut off. So like, yeah, that would mean, yeah, you would this shove on, we have to be appropriate. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, yeah.
like
But I agree. Like I think he's been voted in as a protest vote and not just a protest vote, a vote for it's really it's sad to me because a lot of the people that are voting for him have very legitimate concerns about their, you know, about the state of the United States
right.
that are probably not going to be addressed by him, unfortunately, which is like that's what really saddens me is that he like I guess, and this is just coming from my perspective here, people are going to have different perspectives on this, is that he's so clearly just a number one trying to get to the top without any consideration for anything else. Like, and so, um, and is purely opportunistic in the way that he's operating. And it's sort of, and so it's hard to imagine that unless there's an incentive for him to actually help his voter base, that he's not going to. Like, aside from, I guess you could argue that maybe he's going to help them in order so that he can win more elections. But at the same time, it's like the people that are going to be the most helped by Donald Trump are going to be people who don't need his help in the first place. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm being a bit NF unclear.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think his first term was a complete disaster, and he was just doing it as a
Mhm.
to be popular, because he likes
Yes.
attention.
Yes.
I think his second term is completely different though. I don't know what happened. Maybe I don't know. Like I think it's actually off on a good start because like he already signed a lot of paper documents that actually people want to happen is actually happening already. Like um
That's true. He's doing a lot.
yeah, like
Yeah,
for example, like a lot of dangerous gangs from Venezuela and South America came into US, right? So a lot of them
yeah.
already got arrested and deported for violent crimes they're committing, right? So I think he's already doing some good stuff for like the bad people specifically.
Okay.
Um, and then he also did some. He released the JFK files, and so all the observers are so happy right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, he
Okay.
signed a paper. Like he's
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
there's like a percentage. I forgot it was like 7% of it that was never released. That
Yeah.
so he signed a paper to release the documents for JFK and also Martin Luther King. So like
Yeah.
so and all the EPs are like, oh, missing information, yay, like
Yes. Yes.
so it's gonna be interesting once it comes to public because he's already signed it, and he also
Yeah.
did a really cool FE move. The pen that he used to sign it, he gave it to
Yeah.
uh the RFK guy, the Kennedy guy that's still alive.
Robert F. Kennedy
Yeah,
Jr. Yeah.
yeah, he gave the pen that he used to sign to him as a tribute. So I thought it was like a really nice FE gesture. It's like this is for your family.
That is.
You know.
Yeah. True. This is again to double decide here, even though like my TI is massively against Donald Trump, but I to see the perspective is like, yeah, no, he's. Yeah, you can't argue against that he is taking a lot of action in response to, you know, um, a kind of, political process that was quite stagnant, let's say.
Sure,
Like
sure.
he's very action oriented. He is he's try and his efforts of trying to make the US sort of more isolationist and trying to kind of um get rid of a lot of illegal immigrants are efforts to I guess maybe overcorrect a problem of too much influx
Sure.
of people who are not contributing to the nation. Like I get that. I think the thing that I have a hard time reconciling is less that kind of stuff because I can see on that level, yeah, he's, not necessarily doing anything any worse or any better really than any other politician would of any political party. It's the political game playing that he's doing, which is what is more freaky to me. And it's partially my demons here. He's a type that's, like relatively opposite to myself. And also because he's a number one and I'm a number one,
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
see.
I see exactly what the fuck you're doing. And it's not gonna end well for everyone. Like that's
Well,
sort of like
well,
um
well, the thing is, number twos can also see what number ones are doing. It's the traits
That's
that
true. Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but for me, like as a number two, I just think he's funny. I actually don't have anything against him personally. I think he's like he's entertainment. For my
I think
perspective,
he was funny, is what I would say. He was funnier, whereas now I think it's also particularly like what he's doing reminds me a lot of when in high school when I was learning about how Stalin came to power in Russia, how it came through, there was the Communist Revolution in 1917, which got rid of the autocracy, which is a relatively good thing for the nation of Russia at the time, even though the Bolshevik political party was very, very flawed in the sense that, they were trying to promote some kind of communist democracy, but it was still, they were still seeking power for themselves and not necessarily open to other political parties. But it was better than what was there before.
it's just a different kind of autocracy.
A different kind of one, but yeah, it was perhaps an improvement upon just having
Really? You think so?
one. Well, this is I guess yeah. I mean I think the difference is from what I learned at the time is that as much as is that you could see in the players in the Bolshevik Party at the time. I'm not a communist or a socialist, by the way.
For
I
sure,
think
yeah,
it's
it's fine. No,
just a
I'm just curious.
the history of like the Lenin and figures like Lenin and Trotsky seem to be, from my understanding of it, more motivated by guiding principles that were going to help the nation as well as perhaps any kind of power or prestige that would come with the role.
Sure,
Whereas someone like Stalin was actually relatively incompetent at that side of the job, but he was a very good political game player. And once Lenin died, the reason that Trotsky didn't come to power over Stalin was largely because Stalin was better at forming the kinds of connections in order to, one, get himself to the top of the party and top of the ticket, whereas Trotsky wasn't really good at that. And also then doing a purge of the party and purging anyone that opposed him. And so this is sort of where I see similarities to what Trump is doing, in the sense of now, I do think that the difference here is that the US at this time has a lot more robust political system that is resistant towards people who try
sure.
to make themselves dictators. So I guess I just it brings up fear for me, fear that the US may become a nation that is more akin to some other nations around the world where the democracies are very blatantly just kind of for show. Whereas at least previously, Republican or Democrat, that is still true to a large extent, but you did have people in there who were trying to do good for the nation. Whereas, and you can argue that Trump is trying to do good for the nation here. I guess I'm just sort of, I don't know. It's hard to remove my own bias
Yeah, no,
from this.
no worries. Um,
So, yeah.
so Tennessee, I think I'm gonna wrap up the interview here because we're never gonna stop this observer rabbit hole. Otherwise, it's never gonna end. I could talk to you about this for hours. I have like so much opinion.
Yes, I could
Like when you talk
too.
about like when you talk about like the Russian monarchy switching to autocracy, I'm like, oh, I mean to communism. Sorry, I'm like, oh, I can talk about this for hours. And then when
Oh,
you
yeah.
when you're talking about like Donald Trump and blah blah, I'm like, oh, I can talk about this for hours. I'm like, I need to, I for the
I will
sake of
decide at any
I need to
session. Yeah.
just I need to stop this because it's not personality anymore.
That's true. I'm
It's
also getting sunscreen in my eyes, which is
yeah
probably I
yeah.
need to stop.
So
So,
I'll stop the recording here. So and then I'll talk to you briefly after this. So
if,
I'll just say thanks for coming out and sharing more about yourself and being super honest. And
no
also I
worries.
think super happy. I think I feel like we hashed it out to number one also for your social type. So that's really
Yeah,
cool.
thank you. That was really helpful,
Yeah,
genuinely, because I did have a strong guess by the time I got here, but at the same time, I was like, but I am a delusional fuckhead, so who knows what the fuck I know?
yeah,
Actually, really try and figure it out.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
it's been
No, it
helpful.
was good. We went through all the cross checks. So we're like, oh, there we go,
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
So I'll stop the recording here now. So uh, bye for this interview.